Hello, and welcome back to Kim Talks Resilience. But if this is your first time here, let me give you a little bit of highlight of what we're going to done today and what you can expect from Kim Talks Resilience. I'm Kim Hayden, your host, and my goal is to share stories and insight of inspiration with women around the world by interviewing amazing women from around the world. So sit back, get your pen and paper ready because I guarantee you there'll be some sort of actionable step that comes out of today's interview because we only have the best of the best on the show. Get a chance, be sure to stop by queenofresilience.shop. That's our online store. There's some fun and quirky stuff in there. Nothing like a t-shirt that says, Mother Hustlers get it done. So be sure to stop by queenofresilience.shop and grab something fun, something that inspires you to be the queen you are. And I always love to see those pictures and see who's wearing what and who's shopping where. All right. Let's bring her in. Jennifer Drago. I love this last name. By the way, this is a beautiful woman here. Jennifer Drago is an award-winning strategist and business coach who helps overwhelmed entrepreneurs develop a roadmap to growth so that they can increase their profits, work fewer hours, and increase their impact. Jennifer holds a bachelor's degree in finance, a master's degree in business administration, and a master's degree in health service administrations from Arizona State University, one of my favorite universities. She is a fellow in the American College of Healthcare Executives. So, you know what? I'm going to be learning right along with all y'all today. And there's a little bit of my Kansan coming out. So let's bring Jennifer in. Good morning, Jen. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great. Thank you.
Arizona, the Devils. We got
Sun Devils.
T-shirts down there. The Sun Devils.
Yep.
Excellent, excellent. They have talk about marketing. That university is very good.
They they are. They're known for innovation, and they have one of the top business schools, which was, I was happy to be part of, or they still do have one of the top business schools. But yeah, they're growing by leaps and bounds. It's crazy.
Yeah, I was down there just not too long ago, and the campus is incredible.
Huge.
It is huge. It is crazy. It's an entire city unto its own,
Hmm.
right?
Yes.
So Jennifer, bring us in a little bit. Tell us a little bit about. We got the highlights in your education, but who are you?
Well, I think I'm a servant leader first and foremost. I've spent 30 years in my career working primarily for nonprofit health systems and senior living organizations. And I've also helped to found 3 nonprofits in the Phoenix area. So I'm really proud of that. And like you, we were just talking before the show, and I know you have a history of service in your local community. And I really believe in giving back first and foremost. But I love heart-centered organizations, mission-driven organizations. And really I know you're going to ask me about my why, but part of my why is giving back, using my talents and skills that I've developed over the years and sharing those with small business owners that I think could benefit.
So, okay, so we got a little bit of who you are.
Mhm.
Are you originally from Arizona?
I'm originally from New York. My parents moved when I was 9. I was a severe asthmatic, and that was one of the reasons that
Oh,
they got out of the Northeast and moved west to drier climates. Interestingly, Arizona is not the place that you want to be if you have asthma today because it's grown and it's the air quality sometimes can be a challenge here in the valley that we have with the heat. But yeah, that's how I got to Arizona. I came when I was 9. I pretty much grew up right in the western side of Phoenix. We call it the West Valley, West Side, and went to high school here, as you know, went to college here as well, met my husband, raised my family here. So, yep, Arizona,
you know,
almost a native.
almost a native. Well, in today's world, we were just looking at, and this will be interesting to dive into a little bit. Um, with the somewhat nomadic and immigrant mindset that we're seeing within the world, right? People are
Mhm.
immigrating from one state to another, one country to another, and they're restarting. Right, they're
Mhm.
restarting, and women are not wanting to go into corporate spaces, and that's why corporations are so desperate right now for good quality employees because people are going, I really want to follow my passion, and there's now tools and opportunities to find the people that I align with.
Mhm.
Um, we're seeing such huge shift that I don't think there's many places where people are native anymore. Like
True.
they're you're born there. So let's go into what you do, and then we're going to actually tie this back around to how you serve people, because there is that trend right now that I heard a great term for it, but the resignation generation of women over 40. Somebody called it the revelation generation, which I thought
Oh,
was
nice.
beautiful. I thought that was such a great quote. But let's go into what you do. And then I want to pull that around a bit and see if we can find some actionable steps or some examples of how we can serve them today through today's podcast. How's that sound?
Sounds perfect.
Awesome. So go ahead. What do you do, my
Okay.
dear?
So I love to work with CEOs of their own businesses. Generally, they're solopreneurs or small business owners with a small team, and help them craft a roadmap of where they're headed. And that starts with a vision. So we first create their what I call a vision narrative, which is a very descriptive series of 6 to 10 statements that describes where their business is going to be in 3 years from now. So obviously, it's very aspirational, but it also serves as an inspirational um, description of what somebody can read on a daily basis to remind them where they're headed. That's step one. Step two is we craft that roadmap. Then, if we know where we're headed, where we want our sales to be, what kind of clients we want to serve, how many clients, what geography we're working in, or if we're online, we develop all those details, and then we can craft that laser focused strategy to move toward that destination. And so that's what I help business owners do. So often in early years of entrepreneurship, and I've been there, and I'm kind of there right now. Right? Sometimes we feel overwhelmed. There's so many things to do. We're wearing all the hats, and I try to bring the clarity and the focus in as only a third party objective person can do. And by the way, I have my own strategist and business
Yep.
coach who helps me see my business objectively. But we craft that roadmap, get an action plan, get some timelines in place. And the other thing I love to help people do, which again, if they're early entrepreneurs, they may not have this in place, is a scorecard. Get their metrics. What are we going to measure? How do we know that we're growing? What's going to keep us motivated? And so that's the kind of work that I love to do with small business owners and entrepreneurs. And ultimately brings them daily focus, but helps them get further faster.
Being a solopreneur, it's easy to get sucked into the silo,
Hmm.
that echo chamber. So having uh, that third party, that outside, that over, it's kind of like when you see a forest fire, right? Who's going to have a better perspective as to the size and scope? The person in the forest fire with the bucket, or the person behind the plane over going, this is where we got to drop the water, right? So is that kind of
100%.
where you're coming in, and you have that 3,000 foot kind of view, or
Exactly, exactly. And that's what I meant by the objective view of the business. And I'll give you a quick example. I was working with a client who was setting up her business. She wanted to develop an online course, and she really wanted to focus on an ideal client of that she had in her mind. She's a nonprofit expert, but her client, she thought, was the nonprofit board members. Now, when you're a board member of a nonprofit, you're generally serving unpaid, because those positions are generally unpaid, and you're donating your time and your talent. And I've served on boards and I founded nonprofits. I know that those nonprofit board members are not likely to go into their pocket and buy a course that helps them to be a better board member or helps them to serve their nonprofit in a better way. And so that was kind of step one is, who are you serving, right? That's the first thing I always work with on entrepreneurs. But we figured out that instead of the board members, it was the nonprofit executive director who was really her ideal client. Because the nonprofit probably has a little more wherewithal to pay for a course for its board members that then helps the board members to better serve the nonprofit. And so just that simple shift, I think, will help her to develop not just that course that she was hoping for, but now she can serve the executive director. She's been an ED herself for 30 years. And so she can serve that ED in ways that she hadn't imagined before. So that's an example of, somebody being very focused in their business, maybe not thinking about the bigger picture, where an objective strategist can help.
The online world is where most of us want to be
Hmm.
because of the flexibility and opportunity, especially for women over 40, where we've raised our children, we've had our feet planted, and maybe now's the time where we want to get out and travel. We want to get out and speak. We want to get out and share those years of wisdom, basically, right?
Hmm.
Um, what are some of the biggest challenges you see women face when we start diving into this crazy world, right?
Hmm.
Global
Yeah.
opportunity, and we realize that there's 10 other people that we think are doing it better than us.
Yeah. Well, I just talked about the ideal client or the ideal client avatar, right? And I have to tell you, when I came into entrepreneurship this time, and I'm largely online, and I heard those talks, my eyes glazed over a bit. And I was like, oh, I just am not crazy about this work. But the reality is, to serve online and to attract clients online, you need to dive deep into that client avatar and understand who you're serving, what their pain points are, and you need to get very, very specific. So that's one tip in the online world that I would say will absolutely serve someone who is building a business. The second thing is, there's lots of platforms where we can promote. We can have podcasts and YouTube and be on all the different social media platforms. And, that will drive somebody crazy and take up a lot of time in a way that isn't always productive or efficient. And so I would encourage folks to, again, streamline, start small, start with one or two platforms, figure out what resonates with your audience. You can build over time, especially if you add a virtual assistant or another team member that can help you with that. But we have to stay streamlined in the beginning, keep that focus. And then the third thing that you alluded to is the comparison, right? Comparison is the thief of joy, is a quote that I heard a while ago. And we really have to stay out of comparison, because no matter what we see online from somebody, everybody's social media is kind of, for the most part, picture perfect. And you don't get to see the vulnerabilities and the struggles. And chances are they're going through the very same things that you are. And, you can only compare yourself to where you were yesterday. So that's the mindset message that I try to impart to the entrepreneurs that I work with.
The thief of joy. And I can absolutely see that. And we as women, and because this is a women's show, we can speak specifically to women. We as women tend to have challenges around imposter syndrome, tend to have challenges around, what's ladylike and what's not, what's acceptable and what's not. Are we speaking up? Are we being too loud? Are we being aggressive or assertive? Like, there's all these challenges that go into there. Um, the women who are running these courses, how do they find tip, or the women who are moving into new businesses? There is a aspect of networking that we all have to do, and
Hmm.
part of that, whether it's one on one or it's 1 to 100 or 1 to 1,000, the reality is there is a form of public speaking.
Hmm.
So, what are some of the things that you help women who are not comfortable or confident within their brand, because they are the brand, within their
Hmm.
brand itself? So I know confidence, credibility, and relevancy are the kind of the top three things that are brought up repeatedly
Yes.
for women entrepreneurs who are launching a brand and business, and they have to be the brand. What are some of the ways that you help guide them through that so that they can better network to find their ideal client?
That's a great question. I have to say, especially for women entrepreneurs, the number one thing that will make or break a business and really set the stage for their success is their mindset. And you brought up confidence, and confidence, comes from our mindset. We have to work on this every single day. And so, one of the benefits um, that I like to bring to my relationships with small business owners that I'm working with is, I've gone through a transformational coaching certification program that helps me to identify when a block is holding somebody back, and maybe they don't see it, so maybe it's a bit of a blind spot, and then helps them to kind of transform their relationship with that block. And an example would be a fear of being seen, which ultimately underneath that is a fear of rejection, right? And usually those fears that hold us back are related to things that happened in our childhood. And I'm not a therapist, but certainly if we can identify, oh, I remember this feeling from my childhood, and lean into it and kind of give it some love and acceptance, and still take action in the right direction, that moves people into a place of empowerment. And ultimately, when you see yourself doing that again and again, it builds your confidence. So, really, when it comes to networking and public speaking, outside of nailing your pitch statement, the confidence is key. How you deliver yourself, how you're perceived by your audience.
And sometimes going back and reclaiming something that you felt maybe was an insult or a downplay or a disregard when you were a child,
Mm-hmm.
and reclaiming it and seeing the truth within it and turning it into a positive. Kim Talks actually comes from in eighth grade. I my dedicated song in my yearbook was Talk Talk, and it was because it was funny because I grew up like 25% of women out there. I grew up in a cycle of abuse, and so you tend to talk a lot by saying nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so my talk song, my song dedicated me in 8th grade was Talk Talk, but yet nobody knew anything. So and I took that to heart so much, and I criticized myself for the next 3 decades.
Wow.
You
Wow.
know? Okay, women,
Yeah.
how many women out there are going through this where something hits you when you're 10, 11, 12 years of age, and you flog yourself, you go, "Oh, am I talking too much? Everybody thinks I talk too much." Why do you so Kim Talks is actually born of, I love to talk, but I love to learn more. So
Yes.
talking
Yes.
became a tool, right?
Yeah.
So when you're walking through women through this challenge of overcoming their greatest critic, which
Mm-hmm.
is themselves, what
Mm-hmm.
are some of the do you have one or two tools that you have them do that are actionable, tangible, or is in their space or written? Like what is something that you think they should do in order to every day remember that's your superpower?
Yeah. One of the things I love to tell women to do, and it's a really hard, when I say it, you're going to go, oh yeah, that makes sense. But I can't tell you, it's a hard habit to get women to continue. It's celebrating your wins every single day, right? So if you take time at the end of each workday or before you go to bed and just write down everything that you did that was awesome that day, you wrote a little love note in your son's lunch, and you sent that email you were dreading sending, and you made that pitch, and you submitted a speaker application for a summit. I mean, all those different things, business and personal, that make you you. And review that and really sit in that and think about that at the end of each day. What that does, that process, if we can get it going as a habit, is it builds confidence. It builds satisfaction in your life because you realize, wow, I'm rocking this. And it builds motivation for the next day. So it's so important. And I can't tell you, because I'm also a business coach. So it's one of the first strategies I give someone who I see is struggling with their confidence. And I have to keep reminding them this is important, and and share your wins with me as well. I want to hear them, and so I'm just constantly trying to work on that with them.
Is that in the same theory that a negative and a positive cannot occupy the this mind at the same time?
100%. I mean, it's all about the theory of positivity and having a positive mindset, and how that ultimately affects everything you do. It affects your productivity, and they've shown over and over again it affects your health. It affects your longevity, how long you live, if you stay in a positive mindset. So 100%, that's a big part of it.
So we talked a bit. You mentioned one of your whys. I'd like to dig into why, because in today's uncertain world, isn't it easier just to keep a job when you've got a great degree as
Yes.
opposed to going on your own? So
Yes.
why? Why would you take this on? Is it just right time, or is there a calling? Or give us the perfect storm of you stepping into this. And you know what, folks? There is no overnight success. This is not easy. None of this is easy. If you're waking up today and you're listening to this and you're sitting here going, I don't know if I can do it. You can do it. You can do it. It's not easy for anybody. So, Jen, walk us through your why. Give us that deep seated passion as to why now and why
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mentioned my history working for nonprofits, for health systems and senior living organizations. And specifically in the health system, I started at an early age. Actually, I started with the Hospital Association, which was a trade association, and worked on an initiative to increase the tobacco tax to fund indigent healthcare for people who couldn't afford it in the state of Arizona. And that probably was the starting point of my servant leadership and my, this connection in my brain to, I want to do things that have an impact in life. Then I went into the nonprofit health system, and my job was to evaluate unmet community needs and to bring about programs and services to meet those needs. Then also keep the hospital growing as the community grew, right? So again, impactful things in my career. When I went to senior living, I got to build community wellness programs, again, trying to fill an unmet need. So that's really my why is, that servant leadership, building things that have an impact that kind of magnify what I'm able to do by, serving others. And so as I thought about whether I wanted to, seek my next role in a corporate environment, I really thought I can have so much more impact working with different organizations, sharing my message like today. And so that's really what drove me to found my own consulting practice and coaching practice about 14 months ago.
And the time is so right because there's a lot of women out there, like myself, that do not have the structure of formal education. And there
Mhm.
is a structure that you gain through university that allows you to put the pieces together. Right? Not
Yeah.
everybody adheres to it. We all see Mel Robbins, and she'll show her office, and it's just a chaotic mess. And
Yeah.
she's a lawyer. You'd think she'd be, but have all those structures in place. But bringing that to women who want to create, I think is such an important service. An
Yes.
important service because, ladies, if you're a creator, you're not a completer,
Mm.
and if you're a completer, you get lost in the creation.
Yes.
And sometimes it takes a village to bring these to grow these incredible success stories.
Yes. It was interesting. I got connected with a friend of mine through our coaching certification program, and she's a real creative and loves to serve people in the coaching space and specifically around somatics and healing and health. And she wants so badly to build her business in her local community, not online, but offline, and couldn't see the path. And so we sat down for like an hour and I said, okay, have you thought about this? What about this? What about this? And at the end, she had a whole, basically her roadmap set out for things that she felt comfortable doing, but she just couldn't see the path. And again, so yeah. And sometimes different types of folks can help one another in that regard.
Absolutely, absolutely. It takes a village. As I mentioned to people, when we're looking at other people that are within our space, um, that maybe are 3, 4 years ahead of us in development, and you sit here and go, "Oh well, somebody else is doing it." Just remember, there's only 7 original storylines, yet no two voices are alike. There are millions and millions and millions and millions of people around the world looking for leadership, and the leadership is getting on a global scale is getting actually harder to find. So you have to look more on a local level. Katie Couric was, I think it was Katie Couric was interviewed about 6, 7 months ago. And, when we go back to the 3 channel universe, it was easy to identify who the leaders are because the 3 channel universe, and if you're under 30, you're going, what is a 3 channel universe? This is back when there was only 3 channels before MTV hit us, when a single individual could reach the masses in one focus, whereas now we're being inundated. So it's really important, I believe, if you are a true voice with a why and a value, that you do
Mhm.
speak up.
Mhm. Yes. The world needs your gifts, right? It doesn't matter if you can identify 10 others who you think are doing better. The world needs your gifts. Your experience makes you unique. So I totally agree with you.
Let's talk resilience, because right now, today, there's somebody not wanting to get out of bed because they don't know how they're going to pay next month's rent.
Mm.
And they put years in and they're lost as much as they were when they started, and they're afraid. So let's talk about resilience. Can you share a time in your life that without that moment of resiliency, we wouldn't be having this conversation?
Yeah, I would say it was probably, I'm trying to get my timing right, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, believe it or not. And I had a really difficult time when my youngest went away to college. And it shocked the heck out of me because my mother role changed, and I didn't feel like it would affect me that way because I've always I have a great marriage. I have my corporate life where I was an executive, lots to do, and I thought, oh, this is, I mean, yeah, I'm going to cry for sure when I drop them off. But what happened was I developed a severe case of anxiety and panic attacks, and just kind of out of the blue, and I really had to evaluate my whole health and wellness. What am I doing here? Why am I feeling this way? And one of the things that I adopted during that time was meditation. And I know there's probably lots of people who meditate, and then there's a whole bunch of other people who said, I tried that. That doesn't work. It just is, my sister-in-law said the other day, I feel silly doing that. And I said, I get it because I felt that way. But meditation saved me. I mean, it really calmed my anxiety. It helped me to get through that period in my life and know, my sons are going to be fine without me, because I've prepared them well to be out in the world and to be out adulting. And whenever they need me, they're going to come and ask me for their help, and they have. So that was a real period where I had to kind of pick myself up. And it wasn't just meditation. I also took a new look at my nutrition. I knew exercise was important, but I wasn't prioritizing it in my life. And so I really made, what is that? So physical, mental, emotional. I kind of took a new lease on life in all of those areas. And together that helped make me a better person for the next chapter in life.
And just so everybody knows, that they now say that every single one of us at some point in time will experience anxiety. So, those are great tips of just kind of taking back and saying, I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. I got this. We can do this. We just got to shift some things. We got to shift the focus a little and and I get the whole, my baby is just leaving home. My 21-year-old daughter is just moving out. And I'm like, I'm almost tempted to lock the doors and change the keys because it's like, don't leave. But
It,
it's hard. It's hard, those life shifts, because I've been in this role for 33 years as a mom.
exactly.
And it's
I get
it's like now you have to find a new value.
Yeah, I never heard anybody talk about, how like when you kind of you feel like you lose that role, right? And you lose a part of yourself. And I had never heard anybody talk about that. I heard them, celebrating, I'm an empty nester now. We get to go on vacation. And here I am crying and, having panic attacks at work. So yeah, it was definitely unexpected for me.
Well, and I think that during COVID, we've seen a lot of significant shifts
Mhm.
for people. Some people don't have those corporate jobs to go back to and are having to reinvent themselves and find faith and trust within their own personal brand. And I think that's the most important thing. If you're sucking air and you're not hurting anybody and you're trying just to put one foot in front of the other and be the best you can be on a daily basis, you are worthy.
Mm,
Your brand is worthy.
yes.
So let's talk books
Okay.
real quick. What's a book every woman should read?
Well, this won't surprise you given what I said earlier. It's called The Gap and the Gain. It's by Dr. Benjamin Hardy, who's a psychologist, but an author. And Dan Sullivan he's the founder of a company called Strategic Coach. And what I love about this book is celebrating the wins really comes from this. It's a discussion of how innately we are programmed to look at what we haven't accomplished, right? So we start here, our ideal state or where we're headed, our goal is up here. And maybe in, the course of a quarter, we got halfway, but we didn't quite make it here. So our what we're normally programmed to do is look at the difference between where we are today, which is, now halfway there, and where we want to go and go, oh, that's the gap mentality. I haven't done enough. Oh, there's so much to accomplish. I'm a failure, blah, blah, blah. The gain mentality is look how far I've come. If I, look in this last 90 days, how much work I've done and how much progress I've made. And so the smaller micro bit of that is celebrating those wins, celebrating the gain every single day. And they say always measure backwards. So don't measure forward about where you're headed, measure how far you've come. And I just think that's great advice. And again, because women, as entrepreneurs, right, we're in our heads all the time. We have all these stories we're telling ourselves. We need to be focused on the gain mentality and celebrating those wins every single day.
100%. 100% agree with you. In fact, that's actually what I had written down here. So when I'm looking down, folks, I just so you know, Jen, I have a glass top desk. I'm trying to get away from the piles of paper. So my glass top desk is done with my white and then I write everything down and then I have to document it and then in order or it ends up on the sleeve of my shirt. So
That's a good one.
so you want to be in my Google database, not on the sleeve of my shirt. Trust me. So we've gone through all that. Where can people find you? By the way, I love your last name. It just like is such a cool last name. But
Thank
go
you.
ahead. Where can people find you?
It's a great family too. I married into it, but
Awesome.
yeah. So my company name is Peak to Profit, PEAK, like the mountain peak to profit .com. And so that's really where you can find out about me. I have videos on there. I have lots of resources, and you can also connect with me if you want to learn more or do a free strategy session and see what I can tell you about your business.
Amazing. So close us out today with a quote.
Okay. I'm a recovering perfectionist. I don't know if anybody else out there is, but I am. And it's something I fight every day in a good way. We just have a little struggle. But my favorite quote is done is better than perfect. And it really helps to drive me forward every single day and to not overthink things. Just get them done. They don't have to be perfect.
Have you ever read the definition of perfect?
No, I don't think I have.
Okay. Perfect means nowhere left to go.
Oh,
Full completion. And only day I will be perfect is the day I hit the grave.
me too.
So every day there's somewhere to grow.
Yeah,
So yes, I done is
better
better
than
than
perfect.
perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent thing to focus in on, folks. So you know what? Awesome interview. Thank you so much for sharing your insight. Today, everybody, your homework is to go out and write down all of your wins. If you have to make it those poker chips, write it in a book, grab your marble bag, whatever you have to do. But every time you do something and you do it well and you got it done, we're not looking for perfect.
Right.
Give yourself something. All right? Write it down. All right. Until next time, I'm Kim Hayden, your host here at Kim Talks Resilience with amazing women that are sharing their stories and insight in life, love, and business. And if you ever feel that your resiliency is lagging just that wee bit, be sure to listen and lean into our resilient community and grab your free monthly magazine at resilientgift.com. Until next time, I'm Kim Hayden, and this